So Pierluigi is too nice, as you know, and they say in Italian, who knows how to do does, who doesn't know how to do teaches. And I am in the category of the one who teach, and he is in the category of the one who can do. How do you open that one at the beginning, number one? Speaking of not knowing how to do. So what I want to do, I agree with most of what has been said so far. I want to put like things into context, in historical context, because many of us get a sense that Italy is in trouble, but I don't think we have a sense of really what is the cause, the deep cause of this trouble, and how we can fix it. And so I want to start from the following fact. This is the annualized GDP per capita growth in the last basically 15, 16 years. And Italy is by far the worst developed countries in these statistics. Okay, and you talk about Japan having lost 2 decades. You see Japan is out there and is doing almost as well as the United States. So Italy has lost 2 decades, much worse than Japan. And what is interesting is that I don't bring here the statistics for the previous years, but in the previous 2 decades, Italy did fairly well. And what is kind of problematic is a lot of the usual stuff that we say about Italy, that Italy has small firms, specialized in the wrong sector, has too much bureaucracy, has a corrupt political class, you name it. And I'm sorry to say, was there also 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's not like in 30 years ago I was in Italy. I remember the political class was very corrupt, the bureaucracy did not work, and the firms were small. All the things we have seen that people generally blame for the lack of growth in Italy are not there. Were there before and are there now, so it's very hard to use them to explain this dramatic slowdown. And if you want to see a graphic representation of this, this is the decomposition of what are the cause of this productivity slowdown. And the blue thing is our specialization. We're specializing in sectors that don't grow that much. This was there before, is there today, has not changed. The green part is how we direct our resources that the more growing or less growing sector, how we allocate, and was not working well before and after. The big things that change is this red part, which is basically leftover. The productivity, for whatever reason, has slowed down in a way that is very hard to explain according to any data. So what I'm trying to do is I try to explain it with something else. So one factor, and here I give you a very short version. If you want, you can get more in a discussion, but basically into 3 factors. The first one is we invest less in capital per hour work than we used to. Okay, and then maybe this is due to increased taxation, maybe due to a lot of things, but there is a component. So if you look at our gap in productivity growth, that in the last 15 years is basically 22%. We've lost 22% vis-a-vis our comparable countries. A little bit less than a fourth of that is due to lack of investment in capital. The second, however, has to do, at least in my view, to the ICT revolution. The ICT revolution has been much stronger in the United States than Europe in general, but has been particularly slow in Italy. And my guess, and at this point is more the hunch than a established fact, but my hunch is that there is something intrinsic to the Italian organizational way of doing business that makes it difficult to standardize and exploit the advantage of the IT revolution. And says you can see the difference between the typical Italian bar with a V-star box. One is completely non-digitalized, the other is completely digitalized, and there are costs and benefits, but I think that we have a hard time doing that. And so if you look at measure of how the country is ready to exploit the ICT revolution, now there are some, you see that not surprisingly, Italy is at the bottom of the distribution, and the countries that did the best, like Sweden, Finland, etc., they're always at the top in this. And so this alone can explain another fourth, in my view, of this delay of Italy. Italy has been particularly bad, and what I've done here is skip some of the steps, but what I've done is I look not only across country, but also across sectors. Italy does particularly bad in the sectors that in the last 15 years have taken advantage of the ICT revolution. And so it's likely that his inability to take advantage of that. And not surprisingly, the last is R&D. These are various statistics of R&D across countries. Same pattern, Scandinavian countries doing very well, Italy doing very poorly. And once again, we are doing particularly bad in the sectors that need more the R&D. And why this was not a problem in the 60s and 70s and 80s and became a problem in the 90s and the 2000s is because Italy has now moved toward the frontier of the technology, has moved toward a developed country with high cost of labor. When we were catching up, we're just copying everybody else. And catching up, you don't need to know how to innovate or implement the innovation to succeed. You need to just be fast at taking advantage of somebody else's innovation. And Italy did this very well, like other countries has done this very well, like China is doing that very well today. Once you reach the technological frontier, you need to be able to innovate yourself, and that's dramatically different. And I tell my students, this is the difference between being a good undergraduate student and writing a good doctoral dissertation. You become a good graduate student simply by learning fast and repeating fast what you have learned. That generally prepare you to write good papers, but the correlation is far from one. There are people who are fantastic at taking exams and are completely incapable of producing their own research. And that transition is the one that Italy really failed in doing. So I'm very much in the spirit of what has been said before. I think that we don't necessarily lack the production of new ideas. We lack the ability to transfer. We lack the ability to exploit them. And we don't like innovativeness, but innovativeness is often relegated, if you want, to lower level of the society. In an earlier paper I've written, I found that there is a negative correlation in Italy between your year of education and your probability of becoming an entrepreneur. And it's not because all our entrepreneurs are Harvard dropout like Bill Gates. It's because, as actually Engineer Merloni was saying, our entrepreneurs used to be the farmers or the foreman in a factory that innovated by taking advantage of the existing technology over there. If you go in the area of Veneto, there are 5 factories of Pandoro. They all come from people that used to work at Bauli, and then they innovate by producing their own brand of Pandoro and succeed, which is perfectly a fine method to operate, works very well in the catch-up phase. But if you now want to conquer other markets, establish yourself throughout the world, you have to have a bigger vision. And you have to have people that are not only able at doing the small arbitrage, but they have a bigger view. And honestly, I think that the Italian school does not prepare that at all, not only in terms of notions, but in terms of spirit. I am a proud product of the Italian school. I had a fantastic high school in Padua, in a Liceo Classico. I have to say that the only reason why I went to do economics is because Bocconi had this program that was called Discipline Economiche e Sociali. And so it looks like philosophy and had some business component. If it was just Economia e Commercio, I would never have gone to do Economia e Commercio because Commercio sounded like a low-level thing. After 5 years of classic, your view is that the high, smart people in society do philosophy. Who can do philosophy become a lawyer and a doctor. And if you're really, really incompetent, then you become an entrepreneur. I think that that's the social pecking order that the Italian school transmits to the new generation. And so it's not a surprise that we have fantastic academic researchers who, by the way, leave Italy because the environment is not good and come here to produce great research. but we lack the transition. We lack the admiration for people like Pierluigi, who actually are able to transfer some idea into practice. And over the years in the United States and teaching entrepreneurship, I have sort of learned the difficulties of doing that. Ideas are cheap, execution is extremely difficult. And that's the part that we don't sort of train our people enough, and we don't do enough to change. Thank you.